Welcome to Your Money or Your Life. If someone were to hold a gun to your ribs and demand your money or your life, you would know exactly which one to choose. You would choose your life. Yet, in the quiet, mundane reality of our daily routines, many of us are trading the only thing we truly possess, our time, our life energy, for money, and then trading that money for things that do not bring us lasting joy or purpose. This book is not just another manual on how to accumulate wealth. It is a roadmap to liberation. It is designed to help you transform your relationship with money, moving you away from the endless, hollow cycle of consumerism and toward a life of financial independence. You will learn to recognize what is truly enough for you, to reclaim your most precious resource, your time, and to align your daily actions with your deepest values. You are about to embark on a 9-step program that has empowered hundreds of thousands of people to stop making a living and start making a life. Whether you are drowning in debt, feeling trapped in a job that drains your spirit, or simply seeking more meaning, these tools will help you find clarity and freedom. The journey begins with honesty, with looking at your past without shame or blame, and with the courageous decision to design your life to be exactly that. Your life. Chapter 1. The Money Trap, the Old Roadmap for Money. We are caught in a relentless rhythm, a cycle so normalized that we rarely pause to question its sanity. We wake up, jarred from sleep by an alarm, rush through congested streets, and surrender the best, most energetic hours of our day to an employer. We return exhausted, our minds frayed, seeking solace in evening distractions or purchases that promise a fleeting sense of reward for our daily sacrifice. We are following a deeply ingrained set of instructions, a societal blueprint that equates our self-worth with our net worth, suggesting that the only path to happiness is paved with continuous consumption. This old roadmap tells us that more is always better, that success is measured by the outward display of accumulation, and that the only way to survive is to keep your head down and keep running on the invisible wheel. But if we dare to look around, boss, the reality is starkly different. The people running the fastest are often the most breathless, the most heavily burdened by debt, and the most disconnected from their own sense of purpose. We are willingly trading our most precious, irreplaceable resource, the finite hours of our life energy, for a paycheck, and then hemorrhaging that money to cope with the sheer stress of earning it. It is a psychological and financial trap of our own making, built on unexamined assumptions about what it means to live a good life. To break free from this cycle, we must enter step 1, making peace with the past. You cannot chart a new, liberating course until you know precisely where you are currently standing. This requires stepping entirely out of the fog of financial denial. Most of us carry a profound, silent shame surrounding money. We carry the invisible weight of foolish purchases, missed investment opportunities, and mounting debts that we hide even from ourselves. But shame is a heavy, paralyzing burden that prevents any forward movement. This first foundational step is not an exercise in self-flagellation. It is an exercise in profound forgiveness and total objectivity. It is about laying out the unvarnished facts of your financial history without a single ounce of self-criticism or blame. You must step into the role of a compassionate auditor of your own history. The past is done. The money is spent. What remains is the absolute truth, and the truth is the only solid foundation upon which you can build a life of genuine freedom. To unearth this truth, we must confront a startlingly simple yet monumental question. How much have you earned in your life? This is not a call for a rough estimation or a casual guess. This is an archaeology of your entire income history. You must dig back to the very first dollar that ever entered your hands. You must account for the childhood paper routes, the teenage babysitting money, the minimum wage summer jobs, the corporate bonuses, the steady salaries, and the unexpected windfalls. You will need to hunt down Social Security records, unearth old tax returns, and sift through forgotten bank statements. The purpose of this arduous, meticulous task is not to exhaust you, but to violently shatter a pervasive illusion. We often walk through the world feeling poor, acting as though money is an incredibly scarce resource that constantly evades us. But when you tally every single cent that has flowed into your life since the day you were born, the final number is almost always staggering. you will realize that a veritable river of wealth has already passed through your hands. You are not incapable of generating money. The evidence of your earning power is right there in the final undeniable sum. The core problem has never been the inflow. The true problem lies in the retention, which forces us to face the second, infinitely more sobering reality. What have you got to show for it? Now that you know the exact monumental size of the river that flowed into your life, you must measure the puddle that actually remains. This requires constructing a mercilessly accurate, ruthlessly honest balance sheet of your current net worth. You must list every single asset you legally possess, the cash sitting in your checking account, the current, realistic market value of your home, the worth of your car if you sold it today, the investments, right down to the loose change sitting in a jar by the door. Then you must list every single liability weighing you down, the mortgage, the suffocating credit card balances, the lingering student loans, the informal debt owed to a family member. Subtract the total liabilities from the total assets. The resulting number is your absolute liquid net worth. For many, staring at this final number is a profound shock. It often represents a microscopic fraction of a percent of their total lifetime earnings. It reveals, in cold, hard numbers, the devastating inefficiency with which we convert our life energy into lasting security. You have traded thousands of unrecoverable, beautiful hours of your existence for the money that passed through your hands. Where did it all go? It dissolved into forgotten dinners out, outdated electronics sitting in landfills, compounding interest payments to faceless banks, and the silent, steady drain of an unconscious, automated lifestyle. Confronting this number is not meant to break your spirit. It is the cold splash of water required to snap you out of the trance of the old roadmap, preparing you to finally take the wheel, reclaim your life energy, and navigate toward a horizon of your own choosing. Chapter 2. Money ain't what it used to be and never was. We look at the colored pieces of paper in our wallets, or the digital numbers glowing on our banking screens, and we grant them an almost mystical power. We believe those numbers equate to security, happiness, and our fundamental worth in society. But what is money, really? If we strip away the complex economic theories, the historical gold standards, and the labyrinthine financial systems of the modern world, we are left with a startlingly simple truth. Money is not an absolute, immutable reality. It is a shared illusion, a collective agreement we all blindly participate in, but on a deeply personal level, its definition is much more intimate and infinitely more valuable. Money is simply something you choose to trade your life energy for. Think about it, boss. From the moment you were born, you were given a finite, unrenewable bank account of time. We do not know exactly how many hours remain in this account, but we know with absolute certainty that the balance decreases every single day. When you go to work, you are not merely performing tasks in exchange for a currency. You are taking hours of your irreplaceable existence, your vital life energy, and handing them over to an employer. Once you deeply internalize this reality, your entire paradigm shifts. A purchase is no longer just a transaction of dollars and cents. It is an exchange of the very minutes and hours of your life that you will never, ever get back. This profound realization demands that we move into step 2, being in the present, tracking your life energy. To stop unconsciously bleeding this precious resource, we must become acutely aware of exactly how we are exchanging it right now in the present moment. This requires unearthing a critical, sobering metric that most people never dare to calculate, forcing us to ask the uncomfortable question, how much are you trading your life energy for? When you are asked what you make, you might confidently state your annual salary or your official hourly rate, but that number is a dangerous, comforting fiction. The old roadmap tells you that if you earn $1,000 a week for 40 hours of work, you are making $25 an hour. The reality is far more costly. To calculate your real hourly wage, you must factor in all the invisible, uncompensated time and the hidden financial drains directly associated with maintaining your employment. Think about the unpaid hour spent commuting through gridlocked traffic each way. Think about the time spent agonizing over work emails during your weekend, or the hours required simply to decompress and recover from the sheer psychological exhaustion of your job. Consider the money you spend on professional attire you would never otherwise wear, the daily coffees required to keep you awake at your desk, the convenient but expensive takeout meals purchased because you are too drained to cook, and the costly escape vacations taken simply to survive the burnout of your daily grind. When you meticulously add up all those hidden hours and subtract all those job-related expenses from your actual paycheck, a devastating picture emerges. You are dedicating far more than 40 hours a week to your employment, and you are bringing home significantly less money than your official salary suggests. By dividing your newly reduced net income by your newly expanded actual hours dedicated to work, you will discover your true, authentic hourly wage. For many, this number drops shockingly close to the legal minimum wage. This is the actual unvarnished rate at which you are selling your life energy. Suddenly, that impulsive $50 purchase isn't just $50. It represents several grueling, unrecoverable hours of your finite life. Armed with this sobering new metric, you must now initiate a daily practice of supreme mindfulness to keep track of every cent that comes into or goes out of your life. This is not about creating a restrictive, punishing budget. Budgets are often like crash diets. They feel punitive, they breed resentment, and they are inevitably abandoned when willpower fades. This step is about pure observation, devoid of deprivation or guilt. It is the practice of shining a bright, non-judgmental light on your daily habits. You must record every single transaction, no matter how minute. A piece of candy, a forgotten monthly subscription, a spontaneous cup of tea, a major household purchase. Every single cent must be accounted for. By tracking the flow of this money, you are mapping the exact coordinates of where your life energy is flowing. You do this without trying to artificially force yourself to spend less. You are merely bearing witness to your own behavior. This daily ritual builds an invisible, powerful muscle of awareness. As you meticulously log each expense, the abstract concept of money transforms. You stop seeing prices in terms of mere currency and begin seeing them in terms of the hours of your life you had to surrender to acquire them. This quiet, persistent tracking anchors you firmly in the present reality of your financial existence, laying the psychological groundwork for a profound and lasting shift in how you navigate the world. Chapter 3. Where is it all going? We have been diligently recording every transaction, capturing the daily flow of our resources in a meticulous, ongoing log. But raw data, scattered across notebook pages or digital spreadsheets, is like looking at individual brushstrokes without ever stepping back to observe the entire painting. To truly comprehend the trajectory of our financial lives, we must organize this chaotic stream of information into a clear, revealing portrait. This brings us to step 3, monthly tabulation. This step is the crucible where our daily habits are synthesized into a coherent, undeniable reality. It is where we finally stop asking ourselves in a panic where our money disappeared to at the end of every month and instead command a precise, unwavering view of our entire financial ecosystem. The purpose here is not to create a rigid, suffocating budget boss. Budgets are merely projections of what we think we should do, often rooted in guilt and external societal expectations. A tabulation, however, is a ruthless, honest reflection of what we actually did. It is a mirror held up to our true priorities, reflecting the choices we actively made rather than the noble intentions we quietly harbored. The traditional financial world attempts to force our diverse, complex lives into neat, predetermined boxes. They offer standard, sanitized budgeting templates with categories like food, shelter, and transportation. But your life is entirely unique, and your categories must reflect the precise, idiosyncratic contours of your existence. In this crucial phase, you must design your own personalized ledger. You might have a category specifically for meals eaten at the desk because of sheer exhaustion, or one dedicated entirely to gadgets bought to temporarily alleviate work stress. By tailoring these categories to your specific behavioral patterns, you are stripping away the generic financial labels and replacing them with profound self-awareness. At the end of each month, you will gather your daily tracking logs and methodically sort every single cent into these customized categories. You will also tabulate your total monthly income, arriving at the exact, unarguable figure of what entered your life and what ultimately exited it. Yet simply knowing the dollar amount spent in each personalized category is not enough to spark true, lasting transformation. We must apply the monumental revelation we uncovered in the previous stage and perform a vital, sobering translation. You must take the total sum spent in each customized category and convert it into the most precious currency of all, your life energy. Remember the true hourly wage you calculated, the one that factored in the hidden costs and the invisible, agonizing hours of your employment? You will now divide the dollar amount of every single spending category by that precise hourly figure. If your true hourly wage is $15 and you spent $300 dining out, you must write down that you spent 20 unrecoverable hours of your irreplaceable life energy on those meals. This simple mathematical conversion acts as a profound psychological awakening. When you stare at your completed monthly tabulation, you are no longer looking at a sterile list of financial expenses. You are looking at a living ledger of your very existence. You see the exact number of hours you surrendered to your employer merely to pay for the fuel required to drive to work. You see the days of your life you traded to maintain an empty, unused subscription or a closet full of unworn clothes. The comforting abstraction of money vanishes completely, replaced by the visceral, undeniable reality of your finite time. This tabulation is not a weapon to be used against yourself. It is a profound instrument of clarity. It lays bare the exact equation of your current lifestyle, preparing you to ask the deeply transformative questions that will inevitably follow, and empowering you to finally decide if the trades you are making are truly worth the life you are giving up to make them. Chapter 4. How much is enough? The quest for happiness. We have arrived at a pivotal juncture, boss. You have mapped the exact flow of your resources and laid bare the true cost of your lifestyle, measured in the irreplaceable currency of your own life energy. But mapping the terrain is merely the preparation. Now, we must interrogate the map itself. We are conditioned by a pervasive cultural myth that relentlessly insists that more is always better. We are told that an increase in spending automatically yields an equal and corresponding increase in happiness. Yet, human experience reveals a drastically different reality, represented by a profound concept known as the fulfillment curve. At the beginning of our lives, or in times of true scarcity, every dollar spent on basic survival, food, shelter, warmth, yields a massive spike in genuine fulfillment. Once survival is secured, we spend on basic comforts, which also elevate our well-being. Then come the luxuries, the specialized tools, the vacations, the premium experiences. Fulfillment continues to rise, but the climb begins to slow. Eventually, we reach a mysterious, highly personal apex. This is the peak of the curve. This is the elusive state of enough. It is the exact point of maximum fulfillment where you have everything you need to thrive without being burdened by excess. Beyond this precise peak, a tragic reversal occurs. We enter the territory of overconsumption. We buy more, but the joy flatlines and then actively begins to plummet. The possessions we acquire to serve us become burdens we must maintain, clean, store, and protect. The things we own end up owning us, stealing our peace and demanding even more of our finite life energy. To locate your personal peak of enough, we must plunge into Step 4, 3 questions that will transform your life. You will return to the customized monthly tabulation you created, looking at the exact amount of life energy you poured into every single category. Beside each of those categories, you will not rely on a budget, nor on guilt, nor on external advice. Instead, you will subject every expenditure to 3 ruthless, illuminating inquiries. The first inquiry demands a cold, hard look at the return on your energetic investment. Question 1. Did I receive fulfillment, satisfaction, and value in proportion to life energy spent? You are asking yourself to weigh the sheer joy or deep satisfaction a purchase brought you against the heavy hours of your life you traded to get it. Did that impulsive weekend getaway genuinely rejuvenate your soul, or was the fleeting pleasure dwarfed by the grueling 50 hours you had to work to pay for the flights and the hotel? Did the expensive evening out leave you feeling profoundly connected to your friends, or did it feel like a hollow, obligatory drain of your vital energy? As you evaluate each category, you will mark it with a simple symbol. A plus sign indicates that the expenditure brought you immense joy, and you would gladly trade that life energy again. A minus sign reveals a leak. a place where you surrendered your time but received little to no real satisfaction in return. A 0 signifies a neutral exchange, an adequate but uninspiring trade. The second inquiry forces you to look beyond mere pleasure and examine the deeper architecture of your existence. Question 2. Is this expenditure of life energy in alignment with my values and life purpose? It is remarkably easy to float through life absorbing the values of the dominant culture, spending your life energy on status symbols or socially sanctioned milestones that you do not actually care about. This question acts as a brutal, necessary mirror. If you claim to value family above all else, but your tabulation reveals you are pouring the vast majority of your life energy into a car payment and almost none into shared experiences with your loved ones, a painful discrepancy exists. If you believe your life purpose is creative expression, yet your resources are entirely consumed by maintaining a massive house you barely have time to enjoy, you are living in a state of deep internal conflict. By holding every category up to the light of your core values, you begin to see exactly where your actions have drifted away from your true north, allowing you to realign your spending with the person you actually wish to be. The final inquiry requires a radical shift in perspective, asking you to imagine a reality that feels almost impossible under the old roadmap. Question 3. How might this expenditure change if I didn't have to work for money? We spend an astonishing amount of our resources simply to sustain our employment. We buy expensive convenience foods because we are too exhausted to cook. We pay for professional wardrobes to conform to office standards, and we shell out for premium streaming services to numb our minds after a draining week. This question asks you to mentally detach yourself from the endless cycle of your job. If you woke up tomorrow entirely financially independent, with your time wholly your own, how would your spending change? Would you still need that second car if you weren't commuting? Would you spend as much on frantic, escapist vacations if your daily life was inherently peaceful and fulfilling? By asking this, you begin to isolate the artificial expenses generated by the job itself, separating them from the expenditures that actually nurture your authentic self. Through these 3 profound questions, you strip away the illusions and begin to sculpt a life of deliberate, conscious intent. Chapter 5. Getting it out in the open. We have done the painstaking arithmetic, analyzed the flow of our resources, and subjected our deepest habits to the brutal, illuminating light of conscious inquiry. Yet, there is a distinct danger at this stage of the journey. Notebooks can be closed. Digital spreadsheets can be minimized. The human mind possesses an extraordinary, almost terrifying capacity to compartmentalize uncomfortable truths and slowly drift back into the numbing comfort of old, destructive routines. If the profound revelations you have just unearthed remain hidden inside a desk drawer, the old roadmap will inevitably reassert its quiet dominance over your daily decisions. To prevent this regression, we must drag these numbers out of the shadows and place them directly into the physical environment where you live and breathe. We need to pull this data out of the darkness and put it in plain sight, boss. This imperative brings us to step 5, making life energy visible. This step is a radical act of self-accountability. It demands the creation of a physical, unavoidable monument to your financial reality, a large, prominent wall chart. This is not a fleeting image on a glowing screen to be swiped away or forgotten when the battery dies. It must be a tangible piece of paper, large enough to command attention, hung in a deeply personal space where you cannot help but look at it every single day. You begin with a simple grid. The vertical axis represents money, marked in increments from 0 all the way up to a figure that safely encompasses your highest expected monthly income. The horizontal axis represents the unfolding of time, plotting out the months and years that stretch before you. At the end of every month, standing before this blank canvas, you will plot 2 distinct critical points. The first point represents your total monthly income, the absolute sum of life energy that flowed into your world. The second point represents your total monthly expenses, the exact amount of life energy you chose to send back out into the world. You will draw a continuous line connecting this month's income to the previous month's, and a separate line doing the same for your expenses. Month by month, these 2 lines will begin to travel across the paper, tracing the vital, pulsing heartbeat of your material existence. The psychological impact of this simple ritual is staggering. By mounting this chart on your wall, you are installing a relentless, objective mirror that reflects the reality of your choices without filter or apology. You cannot walk past it without confronting your own trajectory. When the expense line dips downward, it is no longer an abstract concept. It is a visible, undeniable victory. It is the physical manifestation of your successful alignment with your core values. But when the expense line violently spikes upward, there is nowhere to hide. The chart silently demands accountability, forcing you to look at the peak and ask yourself with painful honesty if whatever you purchased was truly worth the monumental surrender of your irreplaceable time. As the months progress and as the profound consciousness developed in the previous steps takes permanent root in your behavior, a magnificent transformation will begin to appear on the paper. The two lines, which for years may have been chaotically tangled or running dangerously parallel at the very top of the graph, will begin to divorce. As you ruthlessly eliminate the unconscious waste and mindless consumption that once drained you, your expense line will begin a steady, deliberate descent. As you honor your time and maximize your earning potential, your income line will hold steady or begin to climb. The space that opens up between these two diverging lines is the most important geography on the entire chart. That expanding void is not just unspent currency. That growing gap is the literal, physical representation of your accumulating freedom. It is the captive life energy you have finally rescued from the relentless machinery of the old roadmap, preserved, protected, and fiercely held in reserve for your own ultimate liberation. Chapter 6. The American Dream on a Shoestring. We have been sold a remarkably expensive illusion. For decades, the dominant cultural narrative has insisted that the only way to experience a life of comfort, dignity, and joy is to continuously escalate our standard of living through aggressive spending. We are taught to chase a version of the dream that requires a sprawling home, brand new vehicles in the driveway, and a garage overflowing with the latest conveniences. But when you look closely at the mechanics of this relentless pursuit, boss, you realize it is a dream heavily subsidized by debt and fueled by the exhaustion of our daily grind. We are bleeding our life energy dry to maintain an outward facade of success. Yet there is a completely different way to approach existence. A way to experience profound abundance without the suffocating price tag. It requires rescuing a powerful misunderstood concept from the dustbin of modern economic theory. The practice of intelligent, joyful frugality. In our hyper-consumerist society, frugality is often treated like a dirty word. It is mistakenly equated with deprivation, stinginess, and a dreary life of penny-pinching misery. But true frugality has absolutely nothing to do with restriction. The word itself shares a root with the Latin word for fruit. It is fundamentally about enjoying the fruits of your labor. Frugality is the elegant, satisfying practice of experiencing a high joy-to-stuff ratio. It means demanding absolute, uncompromising value for every single minute of your precious life energy that you choose to exchange. When you are truly frugal, you are not denying yourself pleasure. You are fiercely protecting your time from being squandered on things that offer only hollow, fleeting gratification. You become a connoisseur of your own resources, refusing to trade your unrecoverable hours for cheap, manufactured thrills. This brings us to the profound behavioral shift required in Step 6, valuing your life, energy minimizing spending. To actively expand the gap between your income and your expenses, to grow your visible freedom on the wall chart, you must learn to intelligently reduce your outflow without sacrificing your quality of life. This begins with stepping entirely off the exhausting treadmill of trying to impress other people. A staggering amount of our spending is driven by a quiet, desperate need for social validation. We buy clothes we don't need, drive cars we cannot afford, and order expensive meals simply to signal our status to acquaintances who are likely too absorbed in their own financial anxieties to even notice. When you liberate yourself from the crushing weight of other people's opinions, a massive financial and psychological burden is instantly lifted. You realize that your life energy is entirely too precious to be used as a prop in someone else's theater. As you consciously minimize your spending, a beautiful reliance on your own capabilities begins to blossom. Instead of instinctively throwing away something that is broken and rushing to buy a replacement, you discover the quiet, profound satisfaction of taking care of what you already own. You learn to maintain, to repair, to mend. The simple act of fixing a chair or cooking a complex meal from basic ingredients reconnects you to the physical world, offering a depth of satisfaction that simply swiping a credit card can never provide. You begin to anticipate your needs rather than reacting to manufactured emergencies, researching deeply to find the true, lasting value of any item before allowing it into your life. And perhaps most powerfully, you discover the vast, untapped economy of the secondary market. By choosing to buy high-quality used items, you bypass the massive markup of the retail world, stepping out of the relentless cycle of resource extraction and manufacturing. Minimizing spending is not an act of self-punishment, it is a declaration of independence. Every dollar you consciously choose not to spend is a fragment of your life energy safely returned to your own hands, quietly building the foundation of your ultimate freedom. Chapter 7. For Love or Money. Valuing your life. Energy, work, and income. From the very earliest moments of our childhood, a profound and dangerous conflation is steadily drilled into our minds. We are constantly asked what we want to be when we grow up, with the unspoken expectation that our answer will be a job title. When we meet strangers, the inevitable first inquiry is always, "What do you do?" Almost instantaneously, we offer our profession as if it were the absolute summary of our existence. We have allowed the cultural machinery to convince us that our entire identity, our inherent dignity, and our fundamental worth as human beings are inextricably bound to the specific method by which we acquire money. This insidious myth demands that we seek our ultimate fulfillment, our deepest sense of purpose, and our spiritual salvation through paid employment. Yet, when we hold this belief up to the harsh light of reality, it crumbles. By demanding that our jobs provide us with money, meaning, social connection, and profound joy, we place an impossible burden upon the simple act of earning a living. The result is chronic dissatisfaction, a desperate search for the perfect career, and a persistent feeling of failure when our 9-to-5 routine inevitably falls short of providing spiritual enlightenment. To step off this agonizing treadmill, we must radically redefine our understanding of work. We must shatter the illusion that the only valuable activities are those that generate a paycheck. Raising a child, tending a garden, volunteering in a community, and caring for an aging parent, all of these require immense effort and produce profound value, yet they are rarely compensated with currency. The moment you sever the artificial link between your identity and your paycheck, a massive psychological weight is lifted. You are not your job title. Paid employment is, at its core, a simple, straightforward economic transaction. It is nothing more and nothing less than the deliberate exchange of your finite life energy for money. Once you strip away the romanticized illusions surrounding your career, you can view your employment with absolute clarity. It is a tool. It is a mechanism for funding your existence and, ultimately, for purchasing your freedom. This clarity of purpose propels us directly into Step 7. Valuing your life energy, maximizing income. If you have done the rigorous work of the preceding phases, you now possess a profound reverence for your own time. You know precisely how many unrecoverable hours of your life you are surrendering, and you know the exact, unvarnished, true hourly wage you receive in return. Because this life energy is the most precious, irreplaceable commodity you will ever possess, you have a solemn obligation to yourself to secure the absolute highest possible return on your investment. Maximizing your income in this context has absolutely nothing to do with greed, nor is it a blind pursuit of wealth for the sake of status. It is instead an act of fierce self-respect. It is the refusal to sell your finite existence for a bargain basement price. Honoring your life energy means rejecting the passive acceptance of whatever compensation an employer dictates. It requires actively examining the marketplace of your skills and strategically positioning yourself to command a higher premium for the hours you choose to surrender. This might involve negotiating a long overdue raise with unwavering confidence, recognizing that your accumulated experience holds tangible value. It might mean ruthlessly evaluating your current field and pivoting to a different industry that offers greater financial compensation for the exact same expenditure of time and effort. It could involve developing new high-leverage skills specifically designed to increase your earning power. The objective is not to simply work more hours, which effectively drains your life energy faster. The goal is to increase the density of the reward for the hours you are already giving up. By deliberately driving your income line upward while fiercely protecting the downward trajectory of your expenses on your wall chart, you drastically accelerate the expansion of the vital gap between them. You are actively increasing the rate at which you accumulate the captured life energy that will eventually break the chains of mandatory employment forever. Chapter 8. Catching Fire, the Crossover Point. For months, boss, you have stood before your wall chart, watching a profound physical manifestation of your discipline take shape. You have seen the steady, deliberate descent of your monthly expenses as you ruthlessly eliminated the mindless consumption that once drained your existence. You have seen your income line hold steady or rise as you learn to fiercely value your time and demand maximum compensation for your life energy. Between these two diverging lines, a vast white space has opened up. This expanding territory is not merely a surplus of currency, it is a reservoir of rescued time. It is your captured life energy, safely extracted from the machinery of the old roadmap. But simply holding this energy in a static reservoir is not enough. To achieve ultimate liberation, this dormant surplus must be transformed into an active, working force. It must become what is known as capital. This crucial transformation is the essence of Step 8, capital and the crossover point. Capital is fundamentally different from the money you use to buy groceries or pay the electric bill. Capital is money that makes more money. When you take your rescued life energy and invest it in safe, income-producing vehicles, a quiet, almost miraculous phenomenon occurs. Your capital begins to generate a yield, a steady stream of interest or dividends. This new influx of money is entirely decoupled from your physical labor. You did not have to endure a commute, sit through a meeting, or surrender a single hour of your precious time to earn it. Your capital is now doing the working for you. To witness this awakening, you must introduce a third, final line to your sacred wall chart, your monthly investment income. You calculate this by taking the total yield your capital generates over a year and dividing it by 12. In the beginning, this new line will trace the very bottom of your chart. It might represent just a few dollars a month, perhaps enough to cover a single cup of coffee. It will seem insignificant compared to the towering peaks of your salary and your expenses, but do not be deceived by its humble origins. Unlike your physical body, which requires rest and inevitably ages, your capital works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without fatigue. As you continue to fiercely protect the gap between your earning and your spending, you will relentlessly funnel that surplus into your capital reserve. Month by month, as your capital base grows, that third line will begin an inexorable upward climb. It will trace a slow, elegant curve, rising higher and higher across the grid of your chart. And as it rises, it is moving steadily toward the most important destination of your entire financial journey. Your expense line, having been tamed by your conscious frugal choices, has established a relatively flat, predictable ceiling of enough. The magic of this methodology lies in the inescapable mathematics of these converging trajectories. If your expenses remain stable and your investment income continues its steady, compounding ascent, the two lines are mathematically guaranteed to collide. That exact coordinate on your wall chart, the precise moment where the rising line of your investment income permanently eclipses the line of your monthly expenses, is the crossover point. This is not just a financial milestone. It is the threshold of absolute liberation. Boss, when you cross this point, you have achieved true financial independence. The stream of income generated by your capital is now entirely sufficient to fund your authentic, chosen lifestyle indefinitely. The agonizing equation of trading your irreplaceable life energy for survival is permanently shattered. You no longer have to work for a paycheck. Any employment you choose to undertake from this moment forward is done out of pure passion, intellectual curiosity, or a desire to serve, not out of financial compulsion. At the crossover point, the remaining hours of your life are finally, completely, and unequivocally your own. Chapter 9. Where to stash your cash for long-term financial freedom. You have crossed the threshold. The crossover point is no longer a distant coordinate on your wall chart. It is your living reality. But the journey of liberating your life energy does not end the moment you declare your independence. In fact, boss, Stepping into this new paradigm introduces a profound and beautiful responsibility. The capital you have painstakingly accumulated, that sacred reservoir of your captured, unrecoverable time, must now be protected, nurtured, and managed with the exact same fierce consciousness that allowed you to build it in the first place. The money you hold is no longer just currency. It is the literal foundation of your ongoing freedom, the shield that protects your days from the mandatory demands of the old roadmap. This brings us to the final summit of our shared journey. Step 9. Investing for FI. The traditional financial world treats investing as a chaotic, adrenaline-fueled casino. It encourages a frantic, breathless race to outsmart the market, chase volatile trends, and gamble with your security in the pursuit of excessive, unnecessary riches. It is a system built entirely on fear and greed, designed to keep you perpetually anxious and dependent on highly paid experts who profit from your confusion. But the path to true financial independence demands a radically different, infinitely more peaceful approach. You are no longer investing to become a tycoon or to fund a lifestyle of mindless consumption. You are investing for one singular, vital purpose: to secure a safe, consistent, and reliable income stream that will effortlessly sustain your deeply realized point of enough for the rest of your natural life. To achieve this tranquility, you must consciously pierce the intentional fog of complexity generated by the financial industry. The jargon, the convoluted metrics, and the intimidating market analyses are often designed to make you feel fundamentally incapable of managing your own resources. You must reject this forced helplessness. Investing for your freedom requires educating yourself on the core, fundamental principles of wealth preservation. It means understanding the simple, stabilizing mechanisms of government bonds, the broad, steady growth of low-cost index funds, or the tangible reality of income-producing real estate, depending entirely on what aligns with your personal comfort and worldview. You must step into the role of the deliberate architect of your own portfolio, constructing a resilient financial engine that prioritizes the steady, reliable yield of income over the risky, unpredictable pursuit of massive capital gains. You are not trying to beat the system. You are simply building a sturdy, weatherproof shelter outside of it. Furthermore, this final step demands that you recognize your investments as a profound, ongoing extension of your own life energy. Where you choose to stash your cash is a direct reflection of your deepest values. You have worked too hard and sacrificed too much of your finite time to blindly hand your capital over to institutions or industries that actively damage the world or contradict the very principles you hold dear. Conscious investing means aligning your financial portfolio with your moral compass, ensuring that the money working tirelessly for your personal freedom is also working to cultivate a reality you actually believe in. Achieving financial independence is not a static, motionless endpoint where you close the ledger forever and abandon all awareness. It is an active, dynamic state of grace. It requires periodic tending, a quiet, mindful observation of the economic landscape, and occasional, gentle recalibrations to ensure your capital remains robust against the shifting tides of the world. But the agonizing daily struggle is permanently over. You have successfully uncoupled your inherent worth from your ability to generate a paycheck. You have stepped out of the relentless machinery of endless desire and claimed your rightful place in a world of conscious, deliberate intent. You have transformed your relationship with money, and in doing so, you have finally, truly reclaimed your life.